This is the chapter of Geography, Chapter 3, Motions of the Earth. Children, in this chapter you will learn about the motions of the Earth. As you know, the sun is the source of light for the Earth. But sun is stationary. Stationary means fixed or unmoving. The sun rotates or spins on its own axis, but it doesn't move from one place to another. So how do the different parts of the earth get light? Every day we see moving the sun from east to west. If the sun is stationary, so how does it happen? It happens because the earth is moving. The earth is rotating, not the sun. Children, the earth is always in motion, but we don't see or feel it moving. That's because everything on earth is moving with us. Children, you will be surprised to know that our earth rotates at the speed of 30 km per second or 1075 km per hour. The speed of the fastest train of the world is 630 km per hour. So if you compare the speed of the earth with the fastest train of the world, the earth rotates 3 times faster than the fastest train of the world. Children, the earth is always in motion, but we don't see or feel it moving. That's because everything on earth is moving with us. Similarly, when we look out from a moving car, bus or a train, we find that all objects, trees, houses, relief features, stations, everything seem running and moving behind, while we are stationary. But actually, it is we who are moving, not the objects outside. Similarly, the earth and along with the earth, everything on it, including us, is in motion or moving. So let's know the important movement or motion of the earth and the other planets. All the planets perform two types of motions. The first movement or motion of the earth and other planet is rotation. The earth and all the other planets rotate on their axis. The another movement or motion of the earth is revolution. The sun is the center of the solar system, and the earth and all other planets revolve around it along an fixed elliptical path called orbit. It always stays the same. So these are the two important motions of the earth, rotation and revolution. So children, let's learn about the first motion of the earth, that is rotation. The earth rotates constantly, which means it never stops. The spinning movement of the earth on its own axis is called rotation. Now let's understand the characteristics of rotation. The first characteristic is direction of the earth. The earth rotates constantly in a fixed direction from west to east on its own axis. It takes 23 hours, 56 minutes and 4.09 seconds to complete one rotation. Approximately, it takes 24 hours to complete one rotation. The second characteristic is inclination of the earth. The tilt of the earth remains fixed even when it revolves around the sun. Earth is always tilted in the same direction, pointing towards pole star. It means the north pole of the earth is always pointing towards the pole star. The earth spins on its own axis. The axis is an imaginary line that goes to the middle or center of the earth. The two endpoints through which the axis passes is known as North Pole and South Pole. This axis is tilted at an angle of 23.5 degrees to its vertical. This means that If a line is drawn parallel to the plane of the Earth orbit, it makes an angle of 66.5 degree to this line. This tilt is called the inclination of the Earth's axis. The third characteristic is speed of the Earth's rotation. The Earth rotates at a speed of 1600 km per hour at the equator, 1200 km per hour at 45 degree north and 45 degree south, and the speed further decreases at the poles. The difference in speed is because at the equator the Earth is bulging and flattening at the poles. Now let us learn the effect of rotation. The first effect of rotation is it causes day and night. This is because as the Earth rotates west to east, that half of the Earth's surface facing the sun gets light while the other half remains in darkness. The portion that gets light experiences day while the other half experiences night. As you wake up in the morning, you notice that the darkness of the night gradually fades away with the break of the dawn. Gradually, the sun rises in the east and lights up the earth for the entire day. In the evening, the sun sets in the west and night approaches after dusk. So it is the earth that changes its position, not the sun. The imaginary line that divides day from night is called the circle of illumination, as it indicates the portions experiencing light and darkness. The duration of the day and night is not equal at all the places on the earth. This is because of the inclined axis of the earth. Children, as you know now, an axis is an imaginary line. It helps to understand how the earth spins. As you can see, the axis is not straight. It is tilted at an angle of 23.5 degree. And this tilting is very important as it is the reason we have unequal length of days and nights. The earth is divided into two parts. These are called hemispheres. The top part is called the northern hemisphere and the lower part is called the southern hemisphere. Sometimes the northern hemisphere is tilted towards sun and sometimes it is tilted away from the sun. In January, the northern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun, so it doesn't get much heat and light from the sun. The southern hemisphere gets more heat and sunlight. So, the southern hemisphere has longer days and northern hemisphere has shorter days. Now in June, the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun. It gets more direct sunlight, so now the northern hemisphere has longer days and southern hemisphere has shorter days. Children, if you look at the important latitudes of the earth, it is equator, Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, Arctic Circle and Antarctic Circle. Now, if you see the lines carefully, in the southern hemisphere the duration of night is longer and in the northern hemisphere the duration of day is longer. The reason is northern hemisphere is facing the sun and the southern hemisphere is facing away from the sun. But here in the Arctic Circle at the North Pole, it has 6 months of day because the North Pole is tilted towards the sun. So when the earth is rotating, the entire region will have days for the 6 months. Whereas in the Antarctic Circle at the South Pole, it is in darkness for the 6 months because the South Pole is tilted away from the sun. So when the earth is rotating, the entire region will have nights for the 6 months. Places near the equator have almost equal days and nights, throughout the year. So as we move towards the poles, the length of day and night changes. So length of days varies with respect of latitudes and seasons. The second effect of rotation is sunrise and sunset. As the concept of sunrise and sunset also gives us a sense of direction based on the position of sun as viewed from earth. The sun rays are vertical at noon and slanting in the morning and evening. You can understand this by observing your shadow during the daytime. The another effect of rotation is the circulation of ocean currents and general circulation of the atmosphere. Children, how does it happen? As you know now, the earth is spinning with a great speed and different part of earth receive different amount of sunlight. So there is difference in temperature at different places. So it affects the circulation of ocean currents and wind. The next important effect of rotation is the sun, the moon and the other stars seem to move from east to west. As we say, sun moves from east to west. But what about the moon and the stars? Actually, the earth is moving from west to east and that is why they all seem moving from east to west. Children, we will learn now what would happen if earth stops rotating. The earth is rotating with the speed of 1000 miles per hour. If the earth stops rotating, all objects would fly eastward at the speed of more than 1600 miles per hour. This includes the atmosphere as it will create wind as strong as an atomic blast. The water in the ocean would also remain in motion because of air current. If the earth stops rotating and continues revolving around the sun, the phenomenon of day and night would disappear. Portion of the earth facing the sun would experience continuous sunlight and heat for 6 months, while the portion away from sunlight would experience night and low temperature for 6 months. In this situation, life would not be possible on the earth. The earth rotation is a key component for making life possible. With rotation, weather, atmosphere, life and earth structure will change drastically and would make earth inhospitable and unsuitable to live. Inhospitable means unfavorable to life. But children, it is just an imagination or hypothetical situation. Luckily, the chances of the earth getting stopped is very small. But it is also true that the earth is slowing down. According to a study, a day is getting longer by 2.3 milliseconds in every 100 years. And after 100 million years, a day will be of 25 hours. But this situation is quite far away. So children, summer, winter, spring and autumn, they all depend on the rotation of the earth. So always do remember the rotation of the earth does many things. So let's summarize what we have learnt.